Hi, everybody. Welcome to our weekly webinar. As you know, we've been learning about the latest trends in real estate during the pandemic. Today, we have a great panel, and the topic is the evolution of marketing and branding in real estate with Lucy Edwards, who's Director of Client Success at VHC Studios and is responsible for promoting the use of professional photography and visual marketing services to agents across the country. She educates agents on why professional photography services are a critical component to their success. She brings 20 years of experience in consulting with thousands of agents on how to customize and deliver impactful property marketing plans and how to utilize a broad range of marketing tools and services to promote their listings. Our other guest today is Barry Enderwick. He's a brand marketing professional, was a key member of the marketing team that scaled Netflix from a relatively unknown startup into an international streaming brand. His 20 years of paid and earned marketing experience spans from startups to Fortune 100 companies. In addition to co-founding Kasian Creative Partnership, he served as VP of Brand Marketing and Communications at MZ and provided CMO level consulting to startups. Thanks for joining us today, Barry and Lucy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hello, everybody.
So Natalia is having some technical difficulties, but will hopefully be joining us shortly, but didn't want to keep everyone waiting. So we're going to kick things off. So Lucy, let's start with you. We were doing our prep call and you had a very interesting story. And like a lot of real estate professionals, you didn't grow up aspiring to be in the real estate industry, but you sort of fell into it. So could you share that story with us?
Absolutely. So my husband and I, that was back in 2001 or so, my husband and I wanted to have our own business, and we are from New York, so we were traveling in upstate New York in the Catskills area, and we stumbled across of the most beautiful, rather large lake. It's a motor lake, Tanana Lake in Catskills, and we saw a really just gorgeous Victorian. It was in a so-so shape, and we were thinking, what if we convert that Victorian into bed and breakfast? So we got busy. Peter got his first digital camera. I learned how to draw floor plans. We put together a business plan where I created a floor plan of existing Victorian, and then we rebuilt it on paper how we see it with 9 or 10 rooms and so on and so forth. We went to a small business administration. They helped us. Thank God it didn't go through, because I cannot see myself in the middle of nowhere, especially in winter, and be the owner of bed and breakfast. But it didn't go through because we had to collect signatures from every resident around Tanana Lake, and obviously we didn't collect one. So that was the end of that story. However, my niece, who used to work for Sothebys in the city at that time, she saw the floor plan we created, and she just absolutely loved it. Because in Manhattan, every property, every listing, even a rental has the floor plan. So as a result, she said, listen, we pay really good. You wanted to start something new and different. Let's just see if you will provide our agents with floor plans. So we got busy, and then we found out that really no one else outside of Manhattan is doing the floor plan. So Peter was again practicing with his camera, and we were actually, I was, because I don't look like a very shy person to you probably, I was knocking on every door and suggesting, let us do a floor plan and photos for your listing, and you will pay us when you sell it. And in 1 year, we grew our business tremendously. So we started in New Jersey, we got referred to Long Island and Westchester County. We were so busy, we started hiring people. Our floor plan with the $30 software were very popular. Again, we decided to be A to Z marketing company. So we invested in a couple inkjet printers. I learned how to do publisher. We did brochures. So A to Z, photos, floor plan, and brochures, and we were extremely popular. And then we decided that we should do something that no one else is doing, because then at that time in like 2003 and 4, floor plans were catching up from other companies. So we invested, and my husband was a scientist. So we got a tripod that was 10 feet in diameter and 75 feet tall, with a camera on top and like a Nintendo game on the bottom. And it was before drones, so we had to create something different. And that just took off tremendously. So if you are familiar with the Hamptons used to be ours, and it used to belong to Enderwick Marketing. And then it was just like a snowball. We were growing and growing, and from Peter and myself, we grew to 45 photographers, 7 designers, 2,000 square foot office. So yes, it was an accident, but nothing is an accident. Hard work and desire to create something different and to be out of the box, I think that was our talent, and that took us on a new journey.
Very cool. Very cool journey. So, Barry, we discussed sort of early days at Netflix, and you had an interesting story, which I'll let you share, but it was essentially the founder found a pain point in the traditional process of renting a video. And then from there, that sort of was the inspiration behind it. But once that had happened, and then marketing comes into play, which is your specialty, how do you identify your ideal client, how to brand the company, and what channels to target that audience under, and just kind of your process for putting together an overall marketing strategy?
So when it comes to who you target, it's you take a look at the people that are your current customers when you find that you have product market fit. Product market fit just means that people are willing to pay you for what you're offering on a recurring basis. And I don't mean it has to be a subscription. It just means that they have to be happy with what you sold them and tell a friend, or they make another purchase from you again. And what you do is you look up what is the psychographic make of them, not demographic by itself. Demographics are age, sex, things like that, nationality, whatever. But what you look for is more behavioral, more demographics. They like these magazines, they go to these coffee shops, they shop at these kind of stores, they do these kind of physical activities. And when you start to get that, you start to get a contextual model for who your customers are, and then you can start to identify where more people like that exist, right? For Netflix, it was kind of easy because we never used personas in our marketing because 98% of America had rented a movie or watched a movie in the last week. So we never really had to do too much as far as refinement and finding our target audience. It was pretty much everyone. But you do research in order to your question about building brand. What we did, and what I've done at Kaizen with my business partner, Kaizen Creative Partnership since then, is you do research with this target audience, and you find out what role you need to play, what problem you're solving, and what is the next level emotional component that's tied to it. Most people don't want to necessarily build a connection to a brand. If you ask someone, hey, do you want to build a relationship to a brand? They're going to say, no, it's dumb. But if you have some sort of emotional component in your brand promise that people can connect with, that's where you get the brand loyalty. And so for Netflix, we didn't have this brand promise to begin with. We did consumer research, and we came to movie enjoyment made easy. And you notice it doesn't say movie renting made easy, because renting is a process. Movie enjoyment, the benefit, the emotional component. We could pay that off with everything we did, from marketing to operations to customer service to feature design. We would get people and we would build a relationship, even though technically they didn't want to build a relationship. So it was early on, it was, and the other thing we had to deal with early on was early adopters. Technology, the DVD technology was in its early adoption phase, as was shopping online. So, your audience evolves. You've got to pay attention to how your audience is evolving. New people enter the marketplace that weren't there when you first started 10 years ago. They were in elementary school. Now they're suddenly, leaving college. And so they may enter your crew as your target audience. So just being mindful of that as well.
Gotcha. No, that's helpful insight. And Lucy, going back to your story, you started out, knocking on doors, promising to get paid or asking to get paid once the house was sold. When did you have your first big break and land a big client? And, how did that change what you had to do in terms of the needs of serving an individual agent to, getting more involved in a larger organization and sort of aligning with their brand?
Sure. So in 2003, it was our very first conference that we went to. It's called Triple Play. So Triple Play was in Atlantic City. It was back then probably about 4,000 or 5,000 agents. Now it's up to 9. And over there, I just happened to meet a Coach Realtor's broker owner, Georgiana Finn, an amazing person, just beautiful personality. She had her own booth there. We had our booth because floor plans were just so new and so adventurous. And she had her own booth for Coach Realtors. They are actually affiliate of Christie's as a recruiting booth. And then we start talking, and she just loved the idea of floor plans, and she brought us to Long Island. So that was our first really big account that kind of build our character. And I strongly believe that your brand is also your devotion, your loyalty to your clients. And my brand is building relationships. So I think it is so important. And I invested my heart and my soul in Coach Realtors. I met with the agents. I was sitting down explaining the importance of the floor plan. It's a psychological marketing tool, and on and on. So we built that friendship, I would say. Like now, if I go on Long Island, I can stop by at any Coach Realtor's office. They will give me their conference room, and they will give me coffee, tea, lunch, whatever. It's family. So that was my first breakthrough, which also made me understand that relationship, and that building relationship, not just with management and broker owner, but also with every single agent. That is your success. I learned from it. And then it started growing. My next big account was Douglas Elliman. It's about 1,500 agents. And I would say I just took that culture and brought it to my next client. And that works. That works very, very well. So yes, I think your devotion, your loyalty, being honest and upfront with your clients, not just thinking about another $100 you can make on an order, but investing in the success for everybody. I think that's a great key. I think I kind of switched from the question, but maybe you can put me back.
That was great. So Barry, you were at Netflix early on. So you go from an unknown to then you have some recognition, some adoption. How does the marketing strategy change for a company like a Netflix, as you grow and get a broader audience? What sort of things are you looking at?
Well, I mean, early on, at all points, we would test any new channel that would come online, right? And this is, of course, back when I first started there was no such thing as social media. We had TV, radio, banner ads, that kind of stuff. We did have one thing that we did, which was pretty clever. One of the co-founders actually came up with this. Since our target was early adopters, they were the ones buying the DVD players. How could we get in front of them? And so we went to the manufacturers in China, Korea, and Japan, and set up a bounty program wherein they put this red ticket, which was an advertisement for Netflix, on top of the DVD player before they closed the box and shipped them to the United States for sale. And then anybody opened it up, signed up for Netflix, and became a paying customer, the manufacturer would get a bounty for it. And so it put us at the exact right place at the exact right time, when someone was most excited about their new toy and willing to hear a new offer. But as time moved on, as time progressed, we would try every channel, but we would look at what was the lifetime value versus what the cost per acquisition on a per channel basis, and lean on the ones that gave us the highest LTV, the best ratio. And then pull back from the ones that didn't. I don't know if that's actually helpful though.
No, that is cool, Barry.
No, that's very cool. And so Lucy, what's your process when, you take on a new client and, each client has different needs? How do you identify those needs and come up with a strategy that's appropriate for them?
Well, I strongly believe that every property deserves a marketing strategy. It doesn't matter if it's $100,000 studio cop or if it's a $20 million estate sale on the North Shore of Long Island. It should really, you should look at it as that belongs to someone who lived there for the last 20 years or whatever, and it is very important to them, and you need to respect it. And therefore, and then on another hand, you have a buyer who is also investing. For somebody, 100,000 is a fortune. For someone, 20 million is a fortune. So in respect to both sides, and especially in the last few months, it is important to put the strategy that everyone is comfortable. And we have so many virtual tools. And even going back to 2003, the floor plan that we created, and I always say it's a psychological marketing tool, because if you go through 5 or 6 or 7 open houses, you are so confused. So the floor plan and interactive floor plan is important, because you click on the floor plan and the photo comes up, so you know where you are. And as a result, the agent doesn't have to have that unauthorized traffic bringing to the seller, because they can have a call or conference meeting, meeting in a conference room and go about it and talk about it. So the strategy is important, what you need to show to make the property look good, at the same time for the buyer to feel comfortable and remember. And if, let's say, you do have a waterfront, but the houses are so close to each other that you can have breakfast together, don't offer drone photography. I shouldn't really say drone. I'm from Russia, so I use mini aerial. So Putin and I decided not to use the word drone anymore. So we are mini aerial people. Therefore, don't do something that your listing will not benefit from. Or 3D video, which is like Matterport. It's like virtual reality, and you can just walk through the house. If the house is a mess, if it's dated, if you zoom in and you see how awful the walls are, don't offer it to your buyer. And I would never offer it to the agent, because everyone have to trust each other. Well, you don't have to, but I build my relationship that I want agents to trust me, and whatever I recommend and suggest will benefit the buyer, the seller, and you as an agent.
That's great. So speaking of technology, two spaces that it's been dramatically affected, real estate, obviously, particularly now, there's a lot of different solutions being thrown at it. And, there's a lot of ad tech out there as well. So I want to start with Barry, and then I also want to get Lucy's response too. How do you stay up to date on all the new, technology and ways of kind of disrupting the industry with so many new solutions coming out all the time?
Well, I think the big way for me, I'm just always curious. So I'm constantly reading what's coming out, what's happening, what are people's takes on it from people I respect, and how are people using it? Are there use cases out there that demonstrate this new technology as being something that needs to be adopted by me or one of my clients? For me, it's just about rabid curiosity and looking for proof points that it's something that's worth investing in, and that's usually by triangulating with other industry experts to see what their take on it is.
Got it. And what's sort of if you could choose one, the biggest change you've seen in the industry in your career that really sort of opened the floodgates to a new way of doing things?
I mean, Google ad networks and social media ad networks. For me, like before that existed, you basically had Google banner ads, you had search ads, and then you would negotiate with individual websites for banner ad placements. And with the advent of Google becoming the ad network for the de facto ad network for the internet, and then also Facebook, Instagram, social media advertising coming online, that's been the biggest change. In fact, the fact that both of those can be leveraged by anybody is what's huge. Before, when you were marketing and you were leveraging marketing channels, you had media buyers, you had people that was their job to get these ads that you had out in front of people. But now you or I can create an account, creator account on Facebook or for Instagram or for Google, and run ads for like $5. Like, now, granted, we're not going to have the subject matter expertise that others might have, but it's been this amazing democratization of access for people to run advertising and marketing. And that's been, to me, one of the biggest things I've seen.
That's fascinating. And you know, Lucy, I'd love for you to comment on this. You see a lot of you know, real estate agents taking advantage of social media, and not even in the sense that they're actually paying for advertising, but just by creating an account and promoting themselves and sort of becoming an influencer. Is that something that you help clients with, or?
Absolutely. So I strongly believe in video. I have presentations about video and the importance of video, putting video on YouTube channel, on Vimeo, put it on social media, create shorter versions of video for your properties and for yourself. I am a strong believer in video. And the first question that comes from agents, well, what do I do with the video I just paid a couple $100 for, or even more? And my answer is social media is your is going to assist you to promote yourself and your listing and everything else. Agents really, and I was the same way. I was, until I would say 2 years ago, social media for me was just a torture. It was just like, if you want to ruin my day, let's talk about Facebook first thing in the morning. Now I changed my mind. But back then I hired somebody and someone was doing it for me. But really, then I realized, if you want to be successful, you can pay someone to help you here and there, but you really need to be involved yourself. You have to wish someone happy birthday. You have to wish someone, you know, happy anniversary. You've been with the company for 5 years. Oh my God, you and I, we've been working together for 5 years. So those are the things I think very important. And yes, all my presentations, I always touch video, and I touch base with social media in the importance. I actually even partner with one of the social media companies that we do presentations together. It's Real Grader. So Real Grader talks about the importance of social media and how you should organize your life accordingly. And I talk about how you use the social media and you do the video for your property, and the return on investment is absolutely tremendous. But besides that, I would like to just mention in 2 words about technology. I think CRM is extremely important. I used to use Contactually until 2 years ago, and now we are doing Salesforce. But whatever you are using, you have to have CRM system to keep track of what you are doing, who you are working with, how often you are visiting your clients, how to follow up. I think that was also difficult for me. Keep in mind, I'm older than both of you. So it was, it was a challenge, but if you want to be successful, someone told me just a couple months ago, stop saying you are too old for it. If you are too old for it, go ahead, retire, move to Florida and just sit on the beach and read the book. But as long as you are active and you are there and you are working, and you have to really be up to par, and you have to be involved in what's required in today's environment.
Yeah, you owe it to yourself to do that. I completely agree.
Absolutely. So it's funny. We had Scott Durkin on last week, the COO of Douglas Elliman, and we were talking about mentorship and how important that is. And then we got into technology, and it was funny because he was saying that the role reverses, and it's the younger employees teaching the older ones, you know, how to leverage technology and use it to their benefit in their profession.
And it's okay to ask for help. I constantly ask for help. I have someone who is taking care of VHT Studios social media, and I struggle to upload some video to Instagram, and then when I do upload, it's all black. So it's okay to ask for help. I'm not embarrassed, and I'm not proud of myself that it's too much for me to ask some 23-year-old to help me. No, I know that I'm smarter than he is anyway in the long run. So just because he can help you with Instagram. I'm just kidding, of course. No, I have great respect, and young people are so much more advanced, and it's wonderful.
So We obviously, given this has been brought up in most of our webinars, in a bizarre world now where there's been a lot, we're all working remote, everything's digital, and people had to adopt almost overnight. And, that sort of compressed the natural adoption cycle into a couple of almost weeks. How did you adopt in your business to the new way of doing business, and are there any new tools that you've started leveraging?
Is it, I can take it.
Yeah, I want to hear from you, Lucy, and then I'd love to get Barry's responses.
So Barry, you want to go first?
Sure. The only thing that changed for us is rather than conducting one-on-one research interviews with stakeholders with regards to brand positioning work, those have gone all remote now. But that's about the only difference. A lot of our work was done remotely already. And nothing's really changed as far as how we work or what our offer is, because nothing's changed on how the brand positioning works. Right? It's still, again, there's this core fundamentals of getting a brand promise, brand attributes, and brand story hasn't changed. You still need to do the research with the correct audience. You need to figure out who the personas are within that target audience. And then you need to do segmentation within the personas so that you know which channels to choose to go after or to target them. So fundamentally, nothing has changed with the exception of in-person interviews for our research purposes.
Very cool. And Lucy, how about your experience?
Very similar. So when everything started, I used to have my my podcast channel. So I had my podcast channel. It was very young. I started the podcast in February. And then when everything happened and the studio was closed, so what I did, I just signed up for Zoom and I started doing my presentations, not versus podcast, but versus Zoom. And it just took off tremendously. And we were and we still are the only company from all my competition who is doing Zoom presentations. So I would approach office managers and brokers, please help me set it up. And we would have from 25 people to 150 people, where we are talking about what you have to do as an agent in today's environment. You have to do interactive floor plans. You have to do videos. You have to do whatever it takes to spread the word about the listing that no one can visit. And most importantly, you need to learn yourself how to navigate those tools. So just because you did, let's say, the 3D video where you walk through, you can even wear the goggles and then you feel like you are there and whatever it is, you need to learn how to do the presentation to your buyer, that it's a smooth and positive experience. And we would talk about it, we would explain it, we'll go step by step. And it really helped our clients that they were able to see the end of the tunnel, that yes, they can save that listing, they can get the listing, they can sell it, they can close it. And that was extremely tremendously helpful. And what is important is that, again, you are building relationship. In difficult times, we were for our customers to say, hello, don't worry about it. We're going to research what you need to list and to sell. You just have to listen to us. You have to follow the rules. You have to ask questions. You have to learn it, and you have to be great at it. But we are here to help you. And those webinars, we had thousands of agents participating in the last 6 months. And then we obviously took it throughout the country. So it's from Florida all the way to north, the east, and all the way to the west. And again, building relationship, building your brand, and building that atmosphere that we are in it together. I think that was extremely helpful for everybody.
And if I may, I think that the one thing that's interesting to me is that where Netflix overlaps with Lucy is the idea that basically to provide outsized value, right? So one of the things Netflix did early on was to build out a distribution network of hubs and mini hubs during the DVD, when it was a DVD rental company, so that people would get their movies in one business day via the post office. And let me tell you, people were blown away by that. That spurred word of mouth like nobody's business. But that's an example of providing outsized value. You didn't pay extra to get that. right? It was still the same cost for the services when we had like 3 distribution centers. But it was constantly working to see what ways we could provide outside service, maybe surprising them with an extra DVD from their queue for no extra charge once in a while. It's that's the kind of thing that builds sort of like this trust and this relationship with the brand. And it sounds like it works not just for Netflix, but also, as Lucy was saying, it works for her as well.
Yeah, I strongly believe in trust and in helping each other and be there for each other. And on all my presentations, I was like, I'm not here to make sure that you order a 3D video Matterport for $500. I want you to understand when it's appropriate, and if it is, then you order. But before you even place an order for that product, you need to learn it and you need to be comfortable. Otherwise, you're going to just screw it up. Your buyer is going to get on top of the ceiling. They wouldn't be able to get down. You will be frustrated. Everyone is going to be upset, and no one is going to buy your listing. So here we go.
No, that's great. And, you know, you guys both spoke about the importance of relationships and trust. What do you think the most important aspect is to, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, but to build that trust and have the client turn from a client to somebody that is, you know, more than that, and they come to you for advice and they trust you and they look to you for guidance during times like this. So, Lucy, if you want to take a crack at it first, and then.
Well, first of all, I think again, the trust is not born overnight. There is time to be spent. I always support our clients when they have a conference, they have some kind of award ceremony for their best agents. I would always sponsor, or I will run some kind of special. I would always participate and mingle. I believe in networking. I'm a party girl, so I always participate in all of their events and their breakfasts and lunches and things like that. If I do the presentation in person 6 months ago, I would hang out and stay with agents and just go over their existing listings and see why they couldn't sell it. Well, you didn't sell it because you didn't even do professional photography, and that's the base. Or you didn't sell it because you should have done the aerial, you are on the water. I will run some special for you because you are 1 month from from losing the listing. And that kind of like, they saw a friend in me and someone who will help them and guide them. And you can't imagine with the strategy that I would offer, because, you know, 1-2 months before the expired listing, and they would listen to me and do it, and how many times they would sell it, or they would get an extension for another 6 months. And they would appreciate the fact that I spent the time, I invested my energy, my ideas in their listing, and it just like the word was spread, and managers appreciated because their agents were happy. The broker was excited because the manager was happy. So all the way around, we were all winners. And again, it comes down to relationship, to communication, and to a positive experience, and being proactive with a positive experience.
Yeah, for us, at Kaizen Creative Partnership, it starts with the initial contact. And as you say, you don't want to sell, you're not out to sell someone something. What you're trying to do is find out what the actual problem is, and then if you can, offer a solution that fits that problem, and it fits that problem perfectly, but you're not trying to say like, yeah, we can do that, when in fact there's no value for that to the customer, because that's just lose-lose. It's when you take the time to listen and really pay attention to what is needed, and if you can't offer that, be the good person and refer them to someone else that can. And that, I mean, if I refer a company because they come to us and they need something, we don't do it, but I refer them to another company that I know is great and they do a great job for them, I've just built up trust with that person who's not a client now, but might need to be later on, or might know someone who needs to be later on. So the idea is to just do the right thing, be a good person, be good in the relationship, and seek to provide value, outsized value.
So I want to backtrack a bit, just because this is a story I want to get in, and this is for Barry. So, you know, we talk about identifying a pain point and then building a solution around it. So, if you could share the story of what the pain point and how that was discovered, which was the inspiration for Netflix, and then how do you build a brand around that?
Yeah, so the inspiration for Netflix from the brand story perspective, which there's some back and forth on it a little bit, but the idea basically is the brand story is a shortcut to why the company was founded, and it ties back to what the brand promise was. So you remember the brand promise was movie enjoyment made easy. But the brand story was that CEO and co-founder Reed Hastings forgot about a copy of the movie Apollo 13 underneath his car seat. And then when he finally discovered it and turned it back in, the late fees cost more than buying the movie new. And he thought, well, this is ridiculous. We've got to do something. There's got to be a better way to do this. And they came up with Netflix, and the idea was born. At that point, they created Netflix, which is a subscription service. You could have 3 DVDs out at a time, no late fees, kind of a pain point. And when you told that origin story about Reed and paying exorbitant late fees, every person, to a person, identified with it because we all paid late fees under the old old way of renting movies. As far as your question about how do you build marketing around that, again, early adopter, they went into online chat rooms for people who were into DVDs. They got the promotional placard that was put on top of DVD players until we transitioned to more of a mainstream DVD purchaser. And then we had to get more mainstream validation. So getting on the Today Show, getting publications like the New York Times, that sort of stuff. But the biggest thing was our biggest channel always was word of mouth. And one of the ways we actually helped that was our mailer was all red with our logo, and it looked like nothing else in the mail. And so when people would watch a movie on the weekend, they'd bring it back into the office to mail in. And as they're walking to the office, people would be like, what's that? Oh, you haven't heard of Netflix? And they'd just go on and just glowingly go on and on about Netflix. So it was helping to encourage that word of mouth as well.
Tricky.
No, it's you know, a creative solution, and you know, obviously Netflix and real estate, two completely different industries. You know, and Lucy, in your capacity, you're sort of trying to provide an experience, right? You're trying to market that property as best you can so that the person actually feels like they're there. They can get a sense of the feel for the home. You know, having said that, what do you do to sort of provide that experience? Obviously technology and stuff, but how do you build that up, and how do you advise clients to do that?
So again, I believe in presentations and in meetings via Zoom or in person. That's the best way to spread the word. Conferences and again, presentations at conferences, that is also very important. And then follow-up is more important than doing the presentation. And by follow-up, I mean reaching out to agents, reminding them that when they do have a new listing and they are struggling to decide what they should do within their budget, then they approach us and our sales team, and we give them a great advice of what they have to do. And even if they have a budget, we can juggle things around and give them that direction. But I would say reaching out by newsletters, by Zoom meetings, building a relationship also with managers, because manager is your friend. So if you have a company like Coach Realtors, they have 20 offices. There is no way you will have access to 800 people. That's simple. So by approaching the manager and asking them to help you and explaining that it's a partnership, I help you to make this great environment for your agents, and you help me by putting me in front of your agents. And it's a win-win situation, because every manager who really cares about their agents and the growth and their success, they will talk to a good vendor, especially, you know, devoted vendor like us, and they will give us an opportunity, and they will create this they will create the possibility for us to have that presentation and to be in front of agents, because they see the value. And I guess coming back to you, Barry, you have to have the value, and our value is again the recommendation of what you have to do for the listing without taking advantage of you or just pushing something you totally do not need. Vice versa, we always try to save money for our agents. And I say, if you have an extra $150, don't do that. Do something else. And that's what I think you should be doing. And that's how you should diverse your budget.
And one thing that cuts across all marketing is to, when you have an initial contact with a person, no matter what you're selling, who you're selling to, is to lead with benefit. I see a lot of marketing where companies say, we're the best software in HR. It's like, okay, great, good for you. That doesn't really say what I'm going to get out of that. So the idea is to lead with benefit. What can they expect? What's the main thing they can expect to get out of it? And maybe in real estate, it's like, get more listings, close more deals, grow your business. And then you can have support points. This is how we do it, right? Below that, but lead with benefit. That's something that cuts across all marketing.
No, I would agree. And I'm obviously in sales, and that's a strategy that works in sales as well, is, what's the benefit, and then explain how we can deliver that.
Right.
Lucy, when you're working with, whether it's an agent or a brokerage, building a brand. So, how do you help them do that? If they say, I want to focus on the high end, I'm in a hot market, like, Beverly Hills or something, and I want to focus on high end listings. So I want to appeal to a certain demographic and obviously, socioeconomic class. How do you help them do that?
Sure. Well, first of all, again, I believe that every property deserves a great marketing strategy. I also believe that when you are getting into real estate, you have to have a budget. You have to invest in yourself as well. You have to understand what you are trying to achieve and how you are going to present yourself to the public, how you will make the buyers and sellers trust you to be hired. So I think that video is a really good way to, especially nowadays, video is very important. And you can prepare a video, I call it video resume, where you talk about yourself, where someone can see you and they just, fall in love with you, what you are about. Also, realtors are the best storytellers. They can tell the story about the property, and so the realtor is a liaison between the seller and the buyer. And the seller who just loves their home, and they tell you the story how they had so many Thanksgiving and how Christmas I hosted dinner for 35 people, and that is the story. So it's because they're so excited, they have beautiful memories. So you as an agent is a liaison by telling the buyer that house is so warm. That the seller hosted 35 people Christmas dinner or whatever, Thanksgiving dinner. That is because it's just such a great environment in that home, and you can create your own wonderful environment. That is the story, and that story can be related outside of the seller in the way of the marketing. Do the drone to show the corner lot. Do the virtual staging if the house is so dated because it was not remodeled for the last 37 years, then you can just kind of like redecorate it virtually and let the buyer know, listen, it is a bit dated, but that's what you can make out of it. There are so many marketing tools that can tell the story and can relate that property to so many different people. And I think that's what the agent should be doing, is investigating what other marketing tools in a toolbox they can acquire to relate that story to the buyer.
Gotcha. What advice would you give, whether it's to an agent or a broker owner, during this time where, showings are limited, it may get shut down again, depending on where you are in the country? What would be your best advice to people so that they're prepared and ready to adapt to the new way of doing business?
Invest in technology, invest in marketing tools that will enable buyers to enjoy the home without going there. Also invest in education. Like some people telling me, I'm so zoomed out. Well, you are not zoomed out. It's just like, again, coming back to social media. If after 6 months you took several Zoom meetings or Facebook Live or whatever, and you are zoomed out, and it's either A, you are extraordinarily smart, or B, you're just full of it and you didn't learn anything. Because I take a lot of, I still participate in a lot of webinars, and I'm learning something new every single day. Invest in technology, invest in what's being offered. I think we should take the opportunity that now we are not traveling. I go to Long Island and it takes me sometimes hour and 45 minutes just to cross 3-mile George Washington Bridge. I don't have to do that anymore. I am here at my desk. I have time available for me to learn, to understand different directions, to relate what I just learned to my agents and get them excited how they can get even, it's fun. It's fun to learn something, and it's even more fun to implement it in your marketing strategy. So learn, read, participate in meetings like we have today, and also try to, not try is a negative word. Also, you have to make sure that whatever tools you are using, you learn them first, so you're not making a fool out of yourself by struggling and just saying, oh, sorry, I didn't, that's the first time I'm doing it. Well, if it's, that's not very professional. So be professional from A to Z.
I think that is an excellent point. You're investing in technology, you're investing in yourself. And really it comes down to, and I've run across this because I run, that there are days where I just don't feel like running, and I have to reframe it. I have to force myself to reframe it to, I feel like running, this is going to be the best run ever. And usually it ends up being a great run. But it's important to take time off. It's important to have time for yourself. But it's also important to understand that, you need to keep learning. You need to invest in yourself. And one of the techniques you can use is to think like, what if 6 months ago you took a course on advertising on Facebook, and now you would be pretty much close to expert at it, right? So just start doing. You're not going to be perfect at it at first, but just start. And that I think is going to be, that's one of the keys. And it's something I struggle with. I'm not superhuman or anything like that. I do the same thing. But it's one of the things is to invest in yourself. Say, you know what, this is something I need to do for me so that I can be more successful at what I want to do.
So that's great, and it sort of segues into my next question, and we're getting close to the end. I want to leave a few minutes just for some questions from our viewers if they have any. I'll start with you, Barry. One book and one, whether it's a podcast or a website that you read every day that you get inspiration from and helps you professionally.
One book.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Well, that's tough because I read, I've got like 5 books going at once.
Or if you have multiple.
Friction was a good one that I remember reading about. It was basically the idea of how do you remove as much friction as possible from your customer journey so that they can have a just smooth sailing experience and what that means for the brand. So I like that book, Friction. Reed Hastings has a new book called No Rules, Rules, and it's about company culture, which even though I worked there for 11 years, I'm still going to buy it and read it because I think it's going to be helpful and insightful because the culture at Netflix was unbelievable. And I think it helped us punch well above our weight. What was the other component of this question? Book
Is there either a blog or a podcast that you sort of go to that, on a daily basis or where you pull inspiration from and you find it?
I read Ben Thompson's Stratechery blog. There's another Substack that I get called the Everything Bundle, which I enjoy quite a bit. I also subscribe to the Andreessen Horowitz, which is a venture capitalist firm out here in Silicon Valley. They have a newsletter that's usually packed full of interesting things. And it's not all marketing. In fact, most of it's not marketing related. And that's another thing that I try to do is kind of like cross-pollinate so that if I see an idea in a different industry and how it's being played out, how I can maybe apply it to what I do or what my clients need.
Very cool. And Lucy, how about yourself?
I prefer podcasts. I don't even have the radio anymore in my car. It's all about, not that I'm driving too far, it's 5 minutes now. But podcasts, it's just really, that's my favorite lately. And Buffini is my hero. I'm also a Buffini student, you can say, and I believe in coaching. I believe not that they discover America, there's nothing really new that they can say, but it kind of confirms your belief. So if you forgot something that is very important, in Buffini, I find that he kind of brings you back and just says, hey, Lucy, you got to remember that one. You know, no, everyone knows how important it is to be focused. And his team really brings me back to that focus. And I know that I have to be focused. Like even with my answers, I'm all over the place. And I know that I have to be focused. I have focus right here on my wall. So yeah, podcast probably my better bet. I should read more, but I just usually when I do read, I try to read something very light and something fun. And then when I listen something serious.
Real quick, I've got one recommendation with regards to video, because I agree with you. Video is a very powerful tool. I highly recommend, if you can do it, is to put subtitles on all your videos. And one of the reasons why is, of course, it helps with accessibility to people who are hard of hearing. But the other thing is, if someone's, say, sitting on the couch and they're scrolling on their phone while a significant other is watching TV, the sound's turned off. They see a video and they keep scrolling. They see a video with subtitles, they stop. So,
you're right. You're very, very right.
Keep in mind.
And then this is for both of you as well. And Lucy, you can answer first, because your situation is unique because they blend together. And the question is, you know, during COVID, where we're all, for the most part, working from home, how do you balance work life? And how did you balance working with your husband and not taking work home with you?
Right. Well, first of all, my husband is in the same business, right? He was always a photographer. Now he's still a photographer, but he's more involved in new products and services. Like he's developing new techniques for video, and he is also training us all the photographers throughout the country on video, drones, Matterport, which is 3D video, and so on. But we just don't separate it. And you know what? The only time we argue is about work when we are at home. It's work and my mom, who lives 10 minutes away from us, walking distance, too close. Those are the two subjects that we just sometimes cannot agree on, but they are usually very friendly and fun arguments. And I don't know, we work together very well. He does all my videos. I have, like on my vht.com/learn, you will find some videos that I put together. They were all filmed by Peter. So we're a team, and it's just, I just can't say, we don't have little kids anymore. We have a grandchild, which is great. But it's not like you guys will go home, and if you have small kids, 5-year-old, 12-year-old, you have to do homework. You have to separate your work from your family. For us, it's fun. We get off work, we go to the kitchen, we have a little scotch, and we talk about how the day was. And it's fun.
That sounds like a good balance. And Barry, how about yourself?
Well, you know, I've been doing consulting now for a few years, so I've been working from home. So one of the things I learned at Netflix is that for me, it's not so much work-life balance. There isn't a hard cutoff between one and the other. Like I'll be out on my morning run and I'll come up with an idea for an article or a blog post, and I'll stop and I'll write it down on my phone because it'll evaporate by the time I get home. So it's just a matter of like, you know, it's a give and take. It's a ebb and flow. Sometimes work enters a little bit more strongly. Sometimes life enters a little bit more strongly. I do take time off, but I don't have hard and fast rules per se. Like, oh, I could never do a video conference on a Saturday. It's like, well, yeah, of course I can do a video conference on a Saturday. It's Saturday. It's another day that ends in day. I can do that. So there really hasn't been much of a shift, especially with COVID, from what I was doing before. Except for I'm spending a lot more time at home.
Maybe you should be a consultant on working from home. There's a lot of demand.
That'll be my new Substack.
So we do have one question from the audience, and this one's for Lucy. So Lucy, have you hosted any virtual showings for buyers as a result of COVID, that are from out of town and looking to relocate? And if so, what tech was used?
So, I'm not an agent. I'm a marketing company and I work with agents. So what I did, and actually it is also on my dht.com/learn, there is a video how you can do the presentation via Zoom to your buyer, and how there is an interactive floor plan where you can say, why don't we go outside? Here is this brand new driveway, and here is the wraparound porch. Let's go inside. And then you click on the photo on the floor plan and you go inside. Oh, take a look, it's marble floors in a foyer, and it's a 2-story foyer. And and the kitchen is amazing. Let's go to the kitchen. And then, so there are so many tools that you can use and make it inviting and warm and fun, and most importantly, memorable. And while you're showing the house virtually, you can also talk about, and by the way, right, like less than half a mile from here, there is a beautiful park with a playground, and the bus stop to whatever city is 2 blocks away, and the major highway is right there. So while you're showing the house, you are not just selling the house, you are selling the neighborhood, and you are also selling the lifestyle. The lifestyle is so important. There is a gym down the street. There is grocery shopping right there. So that is so important with virtual marketing tools. And it is actually better now than ever before, because you have someone on another line and you have 20 minutes to spend with them. And there is so much information you can put in a slow pace that the buyer will fall in love with it, and then they will decide to travel. And again, I don't know if you are leaving our information, you are welcome to reach out to me directly, and I will be more than happy to introduce those tools to you.
Great, thanks for that response, Lucy. So that does it for today. Appreciate both of you. This was interesting and engaging, and some great advice. So thanks to both of you, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you for having us on. That was fun.
Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for questions.